Hello, everybody. Welcome to our next information session with our employer today, the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. And today's, my name is Warner Petzold. I'm an employer outreach specialist here at the University of Arizona Global Campus. And we're excited you could join us today to learn about exciting careers with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. Before I turn over the floor to the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded for all those who registered for today's information session. The recording will be emailed to you in a few days. We will take time to answer as many questions as possible during and at the end of the presentation. At the bottom of the screen is a Q&A button. You can submit questions with your name or anonymously to be answered live. We will do our best to get to as many questions as we can. However, if your question is not answered by the end of the presentation, you can email it to careerservices, that's all one word, at UAGC.edu. We will follow up with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency to get any remaining questions answered. Also, feel free to engage in the chat. You can pose questions in the chat, and members of the Career Services team will be available to help answer questions throughout the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties, we recommend logging out of Zoom and logging back in. Now, I would like to introduce our guest employer. Joining us today is Emma Martinez and Kylie Bernard. Emma Martinez is a national bank examiner and has worked at the OCC for 22 years. She is originally from Trujillo Alto, Puerto Rico. She started at the OCC as an intern in human resources and later transitioned into the field as a bank examiner. As an examiner, Emma has experience in community, mid-size, and large banks. Currently, she serves as an analyst in the Enterprise Governance Ombudsman Division. Emma is also an active member of the Hispanic Organization for Leadership and Advancement, also known as OLA. Kylie Bernard is an associate national bank examiner. She began her work with the OCC in 2021 after graduating from the University of Wisconsin. I cannot pronounce it, Eau Claire, I guess it's pronounced, with a double major in finance and operations and supply management. She is a member of the Hispanic Organization for Leadership and Advancement and the Women's Network. She is very active in OLA's recruitment cadre as well as local office recruitment. Emma and Kylie, we are excited to hear your presentation and thank you for joining us today. I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Werner, and thank you all the organizers of today's info session. We are so excited to be here talking to all of you about the OCC and the wonderful opportunities that we have to offer. One thing I would clarify is starting this week, my title changed. So I have a new job that I started on Monday. I'm the Director for Enterprise Governance Supervision. I am a national bank examiner, but now, my work is more focused on serving as second line of defense, for the agency and looking at, processes, internal processes in supervision. I want also to say that I've known Kaylee for I think now 2 years. We got connected through a mentoring program, and we've been working together for several years now, and working in recruitment, very actively working in recruitment. And I'm so happy to have her here with me today. Thank you. So Kaylee, if you can please pull up the presentation so we can start. Excellent. Okay. If you can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so let's start talking a little bit about who we are. So the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, we supervise 1,067 national banks, federal associations, and federal branches of foreign banks. We protect assets of 16 trillion. And we were established in 1863. National Currency Act under President Abraham Lincoln. The agency is headed by the comptroller, who is appointed by the president for a 5-year term. We are headquarters in Washington, D.C., but we have offices throughout the U.S. And later on in the presentation, we'll show you a map, and you can see where the offices are located. The OCC is a non-appropriated, self-sufficient bureau of the U.S. Treasury Department, not funded by an appropriation of federal tax dollars. So we're funded by assessments that are paid by supervised institutions. Next slide, please. Okay, so as I stated before, we regulate and supervise 1,067 national banks and federal savings associations. Our mission is to ensure that national banks and federal savings associations operate in a safe and sound manner, provide for access to financial services, treat customers fairly, and comply with applicable laws and regulations. We need to go to the next slide, Kaylee. Thank you. The primary goal of bank regulators are to protect the interests of depositors, ensure bank solvency and safe and sound banking practices, and ensure credit needs of the local community are met. In regulating federal banks, OCC has the authority to examine national banks and thrifts, process applications for new charters and branches. We take actions against banks that are not complying with laws and regulations and who are engaged in unsafe and unsound practices. We have also we can also remove bank officers, negotiate agreements to change banking practices, and to issue cease and desist orders. Next slide, please. So as you can see, in that slide, you can see, that all the banks have primary regulators. You can see the OCC there, the national banks and federal service associations, and you see the FDIC and the Fed. Our primary mission, again, and the majority of our workforce are examiners, but we also do licensing. We consider applications for charters, branches, and other corporate or banking structure changes. We take supervisory and enforcement actions against banks, just as I stated, and thrifts that do not comply with laws and regulations and otherwise engage in unsafe and unsound practices. And we issue rules and regulations, legal interpretations, guidance, and corporate decisions governing investments, lending, and other practices. So while the majority of our workforce are examiners, we obviously, have other types of work. I mean, we have, lawyers, accountants that are support, our examining workforce. So just to give you an idea. Next slide, please. So as you can see, we say the OCC examines all aspects of a bank and evaluates its overall operation condition. And as you can see, what we call the camels. These are all the components that we looked at a bank: capital adequacy, asset quality, management, earnings, liquidity, and also information technology, trust, consumer compliance, CRA, Community Reinvestment Act. We look at all these components at the bank. And you can think of us like, as if you think of, like, for example, the health department, the health department assigns grades to restaurants, right? So we, the OCC, are not auditors. There's a difference between examining and auditors. The scope of our reviews is different, as we review legal compliance with banking laws and regulations. Our review is concerned with the overall conditions of the bank, not just financial statements or financial condition. In fact, when we go to a bank and we look at information, one of the things that we looked at when we assess audit is looking at financial statements of it. So that documentation is also part of what we review. So our scope is greater, obviously. We do review many areas of the bank, and we conduct, trust exams, consumer compliance, Community Reinvestment Act, just like I stated, and safety and soundness, which is the emphasis of our examinations. Regularly on a bank exam, each examiner is assigned an area to assess. So, and this change each time you go into an exam. So if you're hired as an examiner, you will be constantly changing, right? You can go to an exam and look at an area, and then the next exam, which is maybe in it could be between 2 to 6 weeks, you go to another bank, you look at another area. So you're constantly learning on the job and getting experience on the different areas. You will be assigned a component rating. The examiners will assign a component rating for all the common areas. So there is a rating that is assigned, and at the end of the exam, there's an overall composite rating that is given to the bank. And of course, the OCC then works with bank management to communicate expectations. So we go in, we assess all the areas, we rate all the areas, and then we assign a composite rating that ranges from 1 to 5. And depending on the results of the exam, we communicate those expectations and findings to bank management. Next slide, please. So let's talk about what it would look like for someone that is hired as an entry-level assistant national bank examiner that starts in a training team. So during your first 6 to 12 months, you will be working in a training team. And the training team is a constant framework for both formal and on-the-job training. Of course, your knowledge and expertise are increased as you participate in bank exams. You normally will have a training team leader and assistant. And basically, they are responsible to teach you the job. Okay. They are there to help you, to support you, and throughout that year. I mean, and I say the year, the training teams can vary. It could be between 6 to 8 months. Depending on the location, it depends. It depends on the location, but normally they go between 6 and 8 months. And after the 6 to 8 months, you go to your assigned field office. So you get hired, and you have a permanent location. Some individuals may have to train in a different location and then go to their permanent location, but I would say more likely people are hired, and more recently people are hired and people stay in the locations that they are. Their permanent location is the same as where they trained. When I was hired as an examiner, so when I went from human resources and decided to become an examiner, I trained in Roanoke, Virginia, and I stayed in Roanoke, Virginia for eight months, and then I transferred to Miami. I believe Kaylee was training the location and stayed in that location. So I would say more recently to that, I think it's more common now that that is the case. But again, it depends on business needs and the locations that are hiring, because they vary for every campaign. Um, Assignments, will vary, just what as I stated before. You could be in an assignment from 2 to 6 weeks. And travel is mostly by car whenever you travel, because also we do offer, we have individuals, obviously, that we have hybrid environments, and we have you can work from home as well. But in the cases where you travel, it will be mostly by car. um, and you work at the bank, with your team. And and you're there, you go to the bank for a couple of weeks while the duration of the exam. And then you hold meetings with management, complete your analysis, present your findings, etc. So it's really, you go from you have assignments, you go. And I would say assignments can be, a couple weeks, depending on the size and complexity of the institution. It could be 4 weeks, it could be even, longer than 4 weeks. But you rotate, go from bank to bank. uh, and you do different banks, and you do different areas of the bank, which is something that I say for this job, and a lot of employees love the fact that you're not doing the same. You're always doing something different and learning. I know this process very well, because I not only was once a trainee and I went through this process, but I also was a training team leader 2 times in the Miami field office. So I know both sides. I know the go through that training process, and also from the perspective of a training team leader. And I can tell you that, we want you to be successful. We want to teach you the job. We want you to succeed. And we see the progress of the individuals, starting from the first bank exam, and all that information and all that experience that you're acquiring. So I can tell you that it's a very important uh, year of your career, because you're setting the foundation. um, and the good thing about it is you have that support from the training team leader. I see that there are some uh, questions. Maybe it will be a good time to address some of them. Let me go here. Let me see. Oh, from all over Chicago, Texas. I love it. New York City, Ohio. Oh my God. This is great. Um, okay, so I'm trying to look for, okay, so we have here, do you conduct examinations at the bank headquarters or branches? Well, that's a great question. We do it normally at it could be on a branch, and it could be the headquarters. It depends on where the bank, they have to allocate the space for us, right? So but normally, that decision of where it would be, the bank will give us a space. It could be at a branch, it could be at the main headquarters of the bank. uh, the important thing is to have access, obviously, to management, because as we are reviewing doing our findings, our reviews, we want to make sure that we have access to them, and we can talk to them, and we can ask questions, because there's a lot of researching that goes on in this job. Of course, we review all the information, and then we go to management to confirm, verify, get more information to be able to do the proper assessment of the area. How far on average is a typical commute? It depends. In Miami, for example, and I'm gonna actually have also Kaylee chime in on this one. I can tell you that my commutes range from, for me, from where, and it depends on where the examiner lives relative to the banks, right? But in Florida, I live in Miami, and I remember having a commute for one bank. I have a 15-minute commute to a bank, but there were times where I have an hour and 15-minute commute to go to a bank. And we had at the time, and I say at the time because it was when I was in the training team, it was when I got off the training team and started in Miami, it was a, a long time ago. And in Roanoke, going back to the training team specifically, it was the same. My commutes were between 30 to 1 hour. I don't know. How about you, Kaylee? What are your typical commutes where you are?
Yep. So most of the time, my banks that I go to are within like an hour, hour and a half. So I could drive home every night. I don't necessarily have to stay in a hotel. Um, but for example, this week, the bank that I'm at is an hour 50 away from my house. So I am staying out. You get fun stay outs. I'm staying at a casino this whole week. So, um, but I know that we have satellite offices. I'm sure Emma or I will go over later in this presentation. And my coworkers that are there, it depends on if they are closer to a airport or closer to a bank with whether they would fly or drive. So it kind of just depends. You can kind of decide if you want to fly or drive sometimes, but the max that I've ever driven is 4 hours, and that's just because there was no airports near the bank that I was going to.
Thank you, Kaylee. I do see, we're gonna be touching on the positions, on the internship, and we also will provide the requirements of the jobs later on in the presentation. For travel, excellent question. Yes, we do offer per diem. We do offer, there is PD when you're over, when you travel, when you stay, and when you have night outs. So there is PD depending on the location that you are going. um Let me see if there's anything else. Are you hiring in the Georgia area? I think in this, for this particular spring campaign, I don't believe, but I can tell you that at the largest campaign that we have is in the fall, and that touches much more offices. So most likely that will be the case. But that one I'll verify if we actually have, if the Atlanta is one of the hiring offices for this particular campaign in the spring, and Philadelphia too. I will verify that. I'll double check with that. I want to make sure that I give you the right locations. Okay. We have more questions. Let me see. But I do want to say that we normally do hire. I mean, we most of the office on an annual basis, most of the offices have hiring. That it covers a range of offices throughout the year. Okay. Remote positions. Well, for the entry level examiner, I think the expectation, for that particular, you can work, and I'm gonna let Kaylee chime in on this. There are opportunities to work from home, but I would say that there's a lot of, remember, this is your own training, right? And you're sharing, you're working with your other team members and working as a team. So there's also a lot of work that you do in the office as a team, and that you do also in the banks. But I'm gonna let Kaylee shine on that particular aspect.
Yep. So when you do go and apply, it will give you about the estimated amount of travel, and that counts for whether or not you're driving back home every night. And so the percent that is not travel. So I think for Minneapolis, it originally was about 60%. Um, that is significantly less now. And I would say that I am probably in the banks probably about 40% of the time. And then that 60 probably about 90% of that last 60% I work at home. And then a couple days a month I'll go into the office because we'll have like team meetings, or instead of going to a bank, we'll work in the office as a group in like a big conference room or something. But I'll go into more detail when I start talking about training team and the experiences there. But there are some opportunities while on training team to work from home, but that mainly will not start until after training team.
Great, thank you, Kaylee. Okay, if we can go to the next slide. And some of the questions we are addressing as we go, and if by any if for any reason we don't address something, we'll follow up with you. Okay, we will follow up on your questions. So career progression, this gives you kind of a snapshot of how you start. You start as I stated, as an assistant national bank examiner. That's where you start. And this is where you go and you do your training team. After 6 to 8 months, you go to your assigned permanent location. And then around a year, based on your performance, you get promoted to an associate national bank examiner. And after when that's Kaylee, that is what Kaylee right now is. She's an associate national bank examiner. You will be assigned to more challenging assignments, begin to take more responsibilities and take additional training when you get to that stage. And again, that's approximately after a year and based on your performance. And then you see the Uniform Commission exam, what we call the UCE, and that is the test you take to become a commission examiner. So once you pass that test, you become a national bank examiner, which is that is a test that I took. So you get that designation once you pass that test. Most people take it between 5 and 6 years on the job, but it really it depends on the individuals. Some people come with certain experiences, skills, so it could be a little earlier or even a little later. So it depends on the individual. Once you're commissioned, you will be in charge of exams. So once you get commissioned, you can sign that report of exam. Now, before that, I do want to clarify. You can be examiner in charge of a bank. You can run an exam supervised by another person, but you wouldn't sign the report, right? When you get this designation, you are as a national bank examiner, you get to sign those reports of exam that are provided to bank management. And becoming commission is something that really gives you open the doors more to you, to opportunities. You get assigned bank portfolios, and at this level you can channel your career and take on more specialized areas if you wish, and that could be asset management, bank information technology. So you kind of can, if there is an area that you really like and you've done in the past that you're passionate about and you want to pursue more, that the UC really opens that opportunity for you in like I said, areas like IT, compliance, commercial credit, retail credit. And as you advance your career, you can take on management roles, such as assistant deputy comptroller, associate deputy comptroller. And I think on that particular point, I'm here in front of you. I'm a testament of that. I think the OCC, I've been able to do so many things in the agency, starting in human resources and changing and becoming a bank examiner, and now being enterprise governance, doing different type of work. So, but I would say it was, when I took the UCE is when, I start teaching. I became a training team leader. So that's, that came, right after my commissioning. I passed that test, and a month after, I was a training team leader for the first time. And that was one of the best experiences of my career. And it opened up, so many opportunities, teaching, mentoring, coaching, doing so many things that I love. And ultimately now, after years, being in enterprise governance, and now managing a team. So, I do encourage, I think we want all of you to become commissioned. That's the goal. And having that credential. And I think it does, it really does open up, a world of opportunities within the OCC. I'm going to look at, there's some questions. Let me see if there's anything here. If the exam tasking will be a full week or longer, is it acceptable to have family meet you at your location for a short period? Well, you can take your family and they can stay with you. They can stay with you if if you're staying out, for sure. Even when there's trainings, some people go to conferences and they're able to bring their spouses, etc. So yes, you can do definitely that. And you have, if you're staying overnight, right, etc. So yes, you can definitely have family. Will you receive a copy of the presentation? Yes, my understanding is you will. Yes. Okay. And Lavonda answered the question. Okay.
Just quick, back to for families coming. There are a ton of people on the exams where if they go somewhere fun, like DC for the week, you can choose to stay over the weekend and have people come meet you, or anything like that. Or I know just alone in my office, there's a couple different people who have either really young kids or kids that are homeschooled, and their whole families will come with them on the exams, and they'll just go to museums or go hang out in the hotels, things like that. Or another example is there are a lot of spouses that are teachers. So during the summer, a lot of the times they'll tag along the exams. So then you don't miss out on being at home and all of your families with you.
Thank you, Kaylee. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. Current openings in New York. Right now, New York is not hiring, that I'm sure, for spring, but I am almost certain that for fall they will be openings. Normally, New York is an office that hires annually, but for the spring they're not hiring, my understanding. And I can provide, I can provide to Lavonda and the hiring location, so you can confirm all that information. Okay. Oh, there it is. Specific locations. There you go. They just provided. Okay. Thank you. You're so fast, Lavonda, answering all these questions. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, so somebody asked about locations. Okay. My understanding is that the total number of offices is 50. And as you can see, we have it all over the US, but they're heavily concentrated, as you can see, more on the east side and mid, in the middle of the US. We have some obviously on the west, but there's more it's more concentration, more in the other side. Now we have banks. So on the West Coast, there may be a little bit more travel to go to certain areas, certain banks, because they cover a bigger, larger areas. We do have 6 geographical regions: the northern region, the northeastern region, the southern region, southeastern region, western region, and midwest region. And for midsize and community bank supervision examiners, which is the division that you will be hiring into as an assistant national bank examiner, you may work in one of the offices located in the U.S. or bank branches, which you see in there. We talk about travel. Obviously, travel is a significant part of the job, and it will vary by location. And we already talked about that. Travel is mostly by car. Of course, there's conference and there's different things that you will fly for. I'm currently now in DC, and I'm here for a meeting, and I'm gonna be in DC next week again for other meetings. So, but mostly the travel is to banks is by car. But you have trainings, conferences, and other things that you will fly for. Are there any other questions regarding the exams? And when I don't see any for the moment, so I will turn it over to Kaylee.
Sure. So I think this is going to answer a lot of the questions that were in here earlier that we said we would get back to. So what do you need to do to qualify for this job? So mainly what a lot of the people who are new hires that through the typical start on training team, move to associate, go through the UCE program, everything like that, is it's typically people right out of college or with just a brief amount of experience like this 3 years. So I know that they mentioned my degree. I am going through the typical route where I came in with a double major in operations, which is one of the other closely related fields, and finance. There are other people in my office that have a lot of the closely related fields. For example, a ton of marketing, a ton of economics. And then the people who are going the more non-traditional route typically come in with the 3 years of experience, where they will either be on the training team for a very brief amount of time or not at all, and they'll just move more into their specialties like IT or asset quality, or they won't even be on the training team at all, and they'll just go straight into examining into the banks. There's a couple different people that have just joined my office that were actually chief credit officers at other banks. So they just skipped training team and went straight into doing asset quality exams. So this is the government. So keep that in mind when you are applying, because of course it's going to be a little bit different than any typical corporate application. What happens is you go into the USA Jobs, the OCC career page, and you apply. Then you have to, right after that, not immediately after, you have like a couple weeks to do this, but you have to go take the pre-employment assessments. Those do sound kind of scary, but all that they are is think like Finance 100 or Accounting 100 type exams, just so you kind of get a little bit of like what you went to school for, show that you actually know kind of what you're talking about. It's not an exam on, do you know how to bank exam? It's an exam on, can you use your calculator, or do you know what a balance sheet is? Things like that. And then there are two other pieces to that pre-employment assessment. The first piece is that finance accounting type quiz. And then there is a writing portion, which is just like a paragraph thing saying, why do you deserve this job? Tell us how great you are, things like that. And then the other one is a logic test. So that's like, if Tom and Sally have to pick the kid up at this time, who needs to leave work around this time in order to make it to the school at that time. So it's not that scary. And a lot of people, or everybody has to take them. So it's okay. I see there's a question about if there's any cybersecurity areas. So that's actually a big portion of our bank information technology. We look at cybersecurity, ransomware, things like that. So the timeline for the spring campaign. The application closes tomorrow. So if Emma and I have convinced you that we love our jobs and you guys should apply, you should apply before tomorrow because it's the government and it's a hard cutoff. So do it today, get it done, schedule your pre-employment assessment. Then next month, they do screening interviews. So that's typically the ADCs, which is like my boss's boss in my office calling, and then our human resource people that are usually based Chicago, DC, calling, just kind of like that's more so like a typical corporate job. They're calling, that's just your phone interview. Decision interviews, that's where they come in and they actually see, are you a good fit for this job? Tell me about your experience, things like that. Offers will come out around May. So I'm not sure what your timelines look like for graduation or anything like that. But it's either right before graduation, around graduation, or if you're graduating next December, you have a job when you graduate at the end of the year. So you don't have to be applying, interviewing, anything like that over the summer and through the fall. Then orientation starts mid-July. So the first couple weeks on that would just be training, getting to know like your office, really understanding what you're going to be doing for the job. And then about weeks 2 and 3 is when you would start going into banks, looking at the specific areas. Anything entry level for school, we are going to, or entry level or those still in school. I think Emma's going to talk about that a little bit. And then pay, I think we will also get to that.
And also the clearance. Yes, you are for this job. You will go through a background. There's going to be a background investigation. That's a typical clearance for federal government jobs.
Yep. So this presentation is for entry-level assistant national bank examiners. For the entry level, that's what the open positions are right now. But again, if you come in that non-typical role where you have experience and you want to go mainly into specific areas, those don't necessarily hire the twice a year like this assistant national bank examiner does. Those openings are throughout the year. So yes, this presentation is for that, but there are those positions that get open throughout the year. So Emma, usually when I present this, they can read those quotes just easy, but I usually like to share my favorite parts about this job, rather than just this anonymous paragraph that's in there. So my favorite part of the job is, Emma mentioned that it's always different, but my real favorite part is I'm actually really good friends with a lot of the people in my office. So it's not like I'm just traveling alone and I'm going to these middle of nowhere banks. Like this week, I am staying at a casino. My coworker, who started as a coworker, who is now actually going to be the maid of honor in my wedding, and I was in her wedding, is here with me. Her parents actually came out, so that we did not lie about that. Families can come out and hang out with us. So I actually think this job is a lot of fun, and I'm doing something different. So then here's where the pay comes in. So salaries start at $58,000. That's the base. So in Minneapolis, my GO pay, which is just to bring you up to where like your livable wages is what that GO pay portion is 12.1%. So if you were to apply to Minneapolis, your base pay is $58,000 plus your GO pay, so 12.1% above that. In addition, other benefits that you get are paid vacation, sick leave, holidays. My favorite part about this job, my third favorite part about this job, is we get every other Friday off. And then also all federal holidays. So you get a lot of time off. And that's what the flexible schedules is. So it's called a 549, but you could choose to work 410s and have every Friday off. Like Emma mentioned, there's nationwide placement. I know right now Minneapolis isn't hiring. We are going to hire again in the fall, but I know right now we're not hiring in the spring. The agency sponsored and sponsored trainings. So again, that's like the training team. And then throughout the year, this year I'm going to DC twice and Chicago once for training. Again, with my coworkers and friends. Paid travel expenses. I saw somebody ask about per diem. Yes, we do get per diem. You get per diem for every single day that you're at a bank, and then you also get the mileage for it. And then you also get free parking. They'll pay you back for parking. So that's super nice. And then obviously they pay for your hotel. Retirement program, we have a pension. Not very many people have pensions anymore. We have that. I think retirement matching is 10% right now, which is also fantastic. And then comprehensive healthcare plan. We have free healthcare. Nobody else has free healthcare. I actually have bumped myself up to the next healthcare option just to have like a little bit better healthcare. I pay $3 a month. It's crazy. So huge benefit to this job. And then free dental and vision. Another benefit to that is my fiance can be added to both dental and vision. So he also gets free dental and vision. And then later this year, when we actually get married, then he'll get his free healthcare. But right now, crazy benefits that not a lot of companies offer.
I do want to make, you talked, Kaylee, about, one of the, about what we like about the job too. I think for me now, I started the job when I wasn't married. I didn't have kids. Now I'm married. I have a child, and the flexible work schedule and the work-life balance, to me is so important. And I think I would say that the majority of the individuals that are, like me in the agency will say that is such a important part and something that we love about being with the OCC. That work-life balance, the maxi flex, the one we have we work 2 Fridays and we have 2 Fridays off of the month. I mean, that is invaluable to me. And I think one of the favorite things now, being a mother and and being able to spend time with my family. So to me, and I want to just bring that up also because that's also a benefit that of the agency. We talk about MaxiFlex. Yeah, somebody loves 549s. Yes, we love 549s. When I was in Miami in the field, for some time I work a 410 schedule. So I had every Fridays off. So I was, I was working 10-hour days or 4 days. I did it for a very long time, and then I changed it when I had my son, because the long hours, for the day were difficult with a child. But there's again, this is the flexibility that like Kaylee said, that that you don't see everywhere. The benefits that we have are excellent benefits. The retirement, and also somebody talked about the base salary, but we also have the geo on top of that base salary, depending on the location. So depending on the location, based on cost of living and other things and this is updated constantly, on top of that base salary you get that geo. In Miami is 15.5%. So on top of that salary, the person that starts at 58 gets 15% on top of that, because of the geo in Miami. The New York geo is different. The San Francisco geo is different. But I just wanted to mention that. So.
Yep. And then just again, based on pay, and we talked about the timeline of going from on the training team when you're an associate to where I am as an assistant. And then like Emma mentioned, where before you take the UCE, you start running exams. You just can't sign that report, which is where I am. I just calculated it because I gave this presentation about like a week and a half ago. From where I started on training team 2 years ago to my salary now has been a 28% increase. So up until you take that UCE, you get a large amount of percentage increases, because they know that you're putting in a lot of work, you're traveling, things like that. And then after the UCE, there is usually a bonus that you get. And you can look at our salary progression tool, which is on our website that was provided to you all, to show you how your salary will progress until you take that UCE. I think right now it's scheduled to be, when I take the UCE in about 1.5 or 2 years, my base salary will be $104,000. So that shows you how fast your salary increases over those 4 to 6 years. I think I saw somebody ask if there's an age limit. There's not an age limit. There's just the education that we are looking for. And then somebody else asked about if military counts towards retirement. Yes, it does. The time that you served in the military before joining the OCC, that will count towards your pension. You'll get that earlier. And then I think, Emma, it's back to you.
Yes. So I wanted to talk to you about internship opportunities. And just give you a brief overview. So the opportunities for internships varied, by hiring cycle, as every district and field, office determines what is the best to offer. These opportunities are based on business needs, for specific locations, and when they are out, they are posted on Handshake. As you can see, candidates must be enrolled in a course of study on a full or half-time basis, leading to a bachelor, master's, or professional degree in business, accounting. So it's the same, right? Banking, business administration, commercial, banking law, economics. It is a internship and full OCC benefits, just like the benefits that we just went through. Now, one thing that I would say is, again, right now it's based on business needs. I think we are moving into a more, more predictable and more potentially, having a nationwide intern, but at this moment right now, it's all based on business need and posted on Handshake. So, depending on the location, that's where we will offer those internships. I think in the future, there will be, more opportunities nationwide, and potentially in a cycle of hiring, just like the Assistant National Bank Examiner. But for now, it is based on businesses. I would say about the internship is that is an excellent opportunity, because you come in and you are with the full-time Assistant National Bank Examiners doing the exams. There is no difference for the work that you're doing as an intern versus what the others are doing. It's just, again, a shorter period of time, of course, depending on the timing, etc., and then you go back to school. So I just, tell you that there are opportunities, but these are based on business needs. They're not like our hiring cycles that we do for the entry level examiners. Now, if this changes, in terms of the internships, we'll definitely let you all know, in terms of, how if there's any changes in the hiring cycle, or whenever they're posted. Okay, I just want to let you know of that. But there are wonderful opportunities, and in those, when those internships happen, again, you do the same job that like the others. I mean, there's no difference. And my understanding as well is that, based on your performance and how you do, when you get hired, you don't go through the regular exam process that the entry level examiners have to go through. You know, if you perform well in the internship and they offer you a job, you know, you go in straight, and you don't have to go through the testing process, you know, the full testing process that the entry level examiners go through when they're hired. So there's a big benefit too. So, you know, I will update you on any changes to that, and we'll let you know when those positions are out. But just wanted to you know, inform you of it. I was typing here. Somebody asked about whether Nashville. There's a possibility always that in the fall, but right now I cannot confirm whether a specific location will be hiring in the fall. I would say that again, our biggest campaign is in the fall, and that's where a big chunk of the offices hire. So it's the biggest campaign we have that you know, has a lot of range with the offices that hire. So there is a possibility that Nashville may be hiring in the fall. Would you be considered an associate in business marketing, bachelor in psychology and planning, on going back for my master's in business? I'm a little confused with that, with your question. If I'm understanding, I mean, again, I just, for the particular, you know, requirements, it must be in, you know, a business field. In general, for example, if you have, there's even information technology, if it's under the umbrella of business administration, you know, it's also you are eligible, you know, to apply for the job. If you have a master's degree, you don't have to have a master's degree, but you know, the minimum qual is the bachelor. Okay. Somebody asked about CPA. You're not required to have a CPA for this job. Positions in the cybersecurity field. As an examiner, you will, just like Kaylee alluded to, that you will be looking at that as part of your information technology assessments. I mean, we do obviously have an IT, you know, our agency has an IT area, obviously, and we hire folks in information technology, obviously, a support, the supporting role. But we
So
do look
what
at
you-
information technology. Yes.
So what you do is, if you go the typical route where you start associate, go assistant, and go through the UCE, you pick a minor. And then after the UCE, you will most likely focus on that area. And I am an IT minor. So yes, there are cybersecurity positions. I look at cybersecurity whenever my focus is IT at a bank.
That's good to know.
Excellent.
I just, a reminder that we're going to be at an hour, so we're getting close to that in a couple of minutes. As
Yes.
far as the slides, Emma and Kaylee, do you have any additional slides you want to show?
No,
them?
I think we are at the end. I just, Kaylee,
may I ask
yeah.
for them to get a hold of you, and because we don't have that on the other slide, there we go.
Yes, here we go.
That's what I was after. So, and then may they reach out to you via LinkedIn as well?
Yes, you can reach me through LinkedIn. But if you have any questions, you can contact me directly. There's also the other email that also the talent acquisition folks will get. If with specific questions, you can also go that route. But I'm always here if you need me, and I will answer any questions you may have. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, give us just a moment. So again, thank you, Emma and Kaylee, for your presentation. It was wonderful. I learned so much about the OCC. I have a bunch of questions I wanted to ask you, but with time, it's unfortunate. But we will follow up, of course. So we have already answered questions as we went. So it looks like as far as connecting with the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency and other organizations that are actively hiring for full-time positions and internships, please log in to Handshake through your student portal. We recommend checking Handshake and UAGC Connect regularly for more career services events. You will receive a follow-up email with a link to this recording and information about careers at the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. If you have any questions for Career Services team on your resume, cover letter, or job search, please email careerservices@uagc.edu or log into Handshake through your student portal to explore more resources. Many thanks again to Emma and Kaylee from the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency for joining us today. And many thanks to you, our students and graduates, for attending UAGC. Please take 1 minute to hang on. At the close of this information session, you will be directed to complete a quick confidential survey. Your responses will guide us in planning future employer information sessions, career fairs, and events. If you're unable to complete it now, the survey will be emailed to you with a copy of the recording. Thank you again for attending this event today, and we look forward to seeing you at more Career Services hosted events. Everyone have a wonderful day. Thank you so much, Emma and Kaylee.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.